That's my girl right there.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Sports in the Mix with the Crew. I don't know what to call this show, but I can tell you what. We got my man Kevin Simon in the house.
Oh, yeah.
And then we got Dre in the house representing, I guess it's Hat Night. That's what we're going to call it.
There it is.
y'all the Bobsey twins, though. Y'all had some matches.
Yeah, we contemplated the demise of the Big 12. It might be just hanging on by the skin of its teeth. So we're going to represent maybe this last time the Big 12.
Oh, okay.
We're going to jump on and talk about it. But first, how about it for those Milwaukee Bucks? Somebody called it, man.
Oh, who? Let me see. I think there was 4 people. 3 of them picked Phoenix. There was only one guy, let me think, that picked Milwaukee.
Well, let me tell you something on here. The Phoenix Suns were going to make and win the West. I called that back in the springtime. Everybody thought I was crazy. All I was smoking was an ink pen. Y'all thought I was smoking something else. I told y'all the Phoenix Suns were going to represent. They got close. They got close.
And my Milwaukee Bucks.
Let's talk about this thing, man, because if you look at it for the East, for Milwaukee, it wasn't easy because Brooklyn was the team to beat. It wasn't Philadelphia.
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
No, to me, Brooklyn was not the team to beat. I call that. I told you they had just those 3 stars. I said they didn't have enough. A lot of people said Brooklyn was the team to beat. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cedric. Go ahead. Continue.
Go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead.
No, I didn't think they were the team to beat because unlike my cigar smoking buddy over there, I didn't think they were the team to beat because they didn't have enough. 3 players I felt like wasn't enough. They just didn't have enough depth. I mean, they finally picked up Blake Griffin and a couple of has-beens, but the legit players, they only had really 3. If you count Joe Harris, 4, and he didn't show up in the latter rounds. But they had 5 players taking up all the salary. So I didn't feel like they had enough depth. And if they don't improve that, they're going to be in the same boat next season. They got to find out a way to get some other players at cheap prices because they don't have any money to pay anybody else.
I'm going to give Dre my Bill Cosby look. Now, Dre, they had 1.5 of the Big 3. They wasn't going to win it without the Big 3. The reason I picked the Big 3 is because they had the Big 3. The Big 3 didn't play against Milwaukee. They had 1.5.
Now, first of all,
you know who Vegas got next year? You know who Vegas got next year?
I know who they got, some Jello pudding. See, now, I understand you, Bill, but first of all, Vegas,
come on now.
How are you going to pick who's going to win next year? This is my gripe. All right, let me get it off my chest. Vegas is in it for the money to make people run bet. How can you pick who's going to win the championship next year and place your odds now in July, and they haven't had the NBA draft? They haven't had the trade season and free agency hadn't even come around. Man, come on. That's a joke. You can't say who's going to win.
And they got the Lakers. They got the Lakers second. They got the Bucks third coming out next year.
That's to make people run, spend their money and place bets. Man, That's crazy. You can't tell who's going to win the world championship next year and this season's not barely ended. Officially, it's not even over because the business hadn't been taken. They haven't even set the salary cap yet. Okay, so let's go.
Well, let's look at this thing. Let's break it down. I'm going to tell you what I think happened in that Bucks series against the Suns. Well, first of all, DeAndre Ayton was a no-show.
Oh, he didn't show up at all the last 3-4 games. Yeah, he disappeared.
When Giannis chased him down and threw his shot off the glass, he never recovered.
Yeah. Yep. Well, Ayton's still a young guy. He's got plenty of room to grow. Giannis just took it on his shoulders, especially in that final game, Game 6. Right, Dre? Giannis put it on his shoulders. He didn't get a whole lot of help from Middleton or from Drew Holiday offensively, at least. I mean, Giannis was 17 and 19 from the free throw line. I mean, he put that game on his shoulders.
Man,
and Ayton didn't have an answer for it. Yeah.
I was so glad to see him just dominate and take over and hit those free throws. 17 out of 19 free throws. Yeah. I mean, I was just so glad to see him do that. Now, if he continues to improve and develop that low post game, like other greats before him, like Kobe Bryant, Jordan, Olajuwon, that guy could truly be one of the greatest ever. They love to anoint these guys. Oh, he's the greatest and this, that, and the other. But man, the way he played that night, in that final championship game, Game 6, he could really, if he keeps progressing, he could really be one of the best because he plays D. You know, like you say, he'll run you down. Everybody's scared to shoot around him.
Yeah.
The whole Phoenix team was scared to take a shot if he was anywhere around. So yeah, he got him. Booker was the only one that had the heart, and then Chris Paul, he disappeared a little bit, came back a little bit. But I think I've got a feeling the season had wore down on him. 36 years old, I think it finally caught up with him. But yeah, the Bucks big three got to playing well together at the perfect time. You know, Holiday, and of course Middleton, and then Giannis. So I was glad to see it.
And you know what surprised me?
Porter stepped up in game 6. Go ahead.
Oh, I love Bobby Portis. Yeah,
Bobby Portis from Little Rock. Man, he got so hyped that Middleton had to go over there and say, "Hey, look, man."
Yeah,
because he didn't get
calm him down.
You know, take off. You know how you play with some of these showboats out there. They say, "Look, man. Okay, we know who you are. Just calm down, bro." That's what they had to do.
And the thing about the Bucks and him, his contract's up. He's a free agent. The Bucks are probably not going to be able to retain him because they just won't have the money available to sign him, because they're kind of in that Brooklyn situation, not as bad. They got 3 guys making most of the money on that team, and they're not going to be able to retain a couple of their free agents. But Bobby Portis is going to get paid somewhere. He's a good player, and he's only 26 years old. People don't realize that. You think of him as a veteran, some older guy, kind of like PJ Tucker. He's another free agent who they might not be able to retain, or they might be able to keep him because they have his bird rights. But Porter, they're probably going to lose him. And that's too bad.
Yeah. And Portis is a fan favorite, so I'll be interested to see how this works out. PJ is the one I'm kind of, because if you looked at that hug after the game with the coach, it wasn't all that great a hug with PJ. Tucker was celebrating, but it wasn't a great hug. It's kind of like, PJ might be on his way out. Now,
he might also. You're right.
Portis is a fan. He's a fan favorite, so we'll see how this pans out.
Those 2 guys are free agents, and if the Bucks either replace them with someone else, which they probably will have to, I doubt if they're able to sign them both, unless they come dirt cheap, and those guys not going to leave money on the table. Portis is going to opt out. I think he would only make about $6 million or something like that next year. He could make way more than that on the market. So depending on who they replace them with, the Bucks can still, of course, they'll be contenders with Giannis and those other 2.
Let's talk about Chris Middleton, because you hear how Giannis called him. He said, "Chris." You know, like,
Chris. But yeah, Chris, give me a 50-piece from Chick-fil-A.
They said Giannis wore his uniform all night long. He said,
"Give me a drink, a drink, have tea, have Sprite, a drink. Bring me a drink." You know, Giannis, man.
I like some Giannis, man. Yeah.
But let's talk about Chris Middleton. G League. How does he make it coming from Texas A&M? Did he get drafted? What's his story, Dre?
Yeah, perseverance, man. Yeah, he came out, not really overlooked as a college player. Nobody thought he was going to be that great, and then not really sticking with anybody. And you see that story from time to time with pro athletes. Takes him a while, man. And like you say, he had to go overseas and play and get established, get himself. And he came back over here, and the Bucks gave him a shot. The boy showed up, and now it's cashed in. He got, not only does he have a big contract, but he's got a championship now. And he's not an old player. He's only around 30. So he's a good player. Middleton's a good, solid second guy to have as your Batman and right. He's a good Robin to Giannis Antetokounmpo. Yeah,
I think that Milwaukee's a good fit for Middleton, because as I said, he really had an up and down series and really didn't show that much offensively in game 6, but he made some shots down the stretch, especially to push that lead up to 6 late in the game. I thought that pretty much sealed the deal. Then he went to the free throw line and sunk those free throws to put the game away. But taking that game from 4 to 6, but before that, he didn't have a whole lot to say offensively. Again, Giannis put that game on his back.
Well, you got to remember during the series against the Hawks, when Giannis was out and hurt those 2 games, he really stepped up because they beat the Hawks. Even though Trae Young was hurt and he didn't play, but hey, they responded, because I thought they was going to crash,
Yeah. And Drew Holiday and him, like you said, they played great in those 2 games, along with Bobby Portis. They showed up and showed out, and look where they are now. They're the world champs.
Brook Lopez.
Oh yeah, Brook Lopez, man. He's a good player to have on your team, man. This boy 9 feet tall and can shoot threes like Steph Curry. I mean, he ain't a great shot blocker or a great rebounder to be 7 foot tall, but he's very effective, man.
He is. And Dre, I saw this a couple of weeks ago, and I thought that can't be right. But who is the Nets' all-time leading scorer?
The Nets. Oh, the Nets.
The all-time leading.
It's got to be Brook Lopez.
It's Brook Lopez.
It really?
He's 4 points ahead of Buck Williams.
Wow.
10,044. 10,444,
Wow.
and Buck Williams got 10,400. Brooke Lopez, of all people, is the all-time
Wow.
leading scorer for the Nets.
And
Yeah.
back then when he was scoring all those points, Kevin, he wasn't a great 3-point shooter.
Right.
He just
Yeah.
became a great
He
3-point
developed
shooter the
that.
last
Yeah.
about 3 years. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because the Lakers
now-
had him for a minute. They had
Yeah.
him for one season, and I got to see him up close. I'm like, this guy can shoot the lights out if he gets the
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Too much talent wasn't on that team, wasn't it? You know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now we got to do this. We got to talk about Monty Williams. Wasn't that a class act what he did afterwards, even though they
man.
lost? I
You
mean,
know,
he did everything he could, man. And I think CP3 kind of tuned him out a little bit too, as well.
Well, CP3 is that type of guy that tunes a lot of people out, and he rubs a lot of people the wrong way. And I'm just telling you what I know up close, the way he was with Doc Rivers and a lot of folks. He's that type. He's a leader, good leader, but he does rub people the wrong way. But supposedly those two get along now, and they saying, Monty said, hey, I let Chris call the shots on the court and blah, blah, blah. They say all the right things now. I think they're okay. But Monty Williams, I've been singing his praises all year, and you guys know this. I just said, first of all, he's a heck of a coach. And secondly, the most classiest guy I've ever seen in the NBA, man. He's just class personified. That was amazing what he did when he went in the locker room and said what he said.
Yeah, he brought a lot of class, and not just to the Phoenix Suns, but also the NBA period. But yeah, man, Monty's still growing as a coach, but he did a great job. He got him to the finals. Phoenix hadn't been to the playoffs in 10 years. They got all the way to the finals. So Monty did a great job, man, and still growing with this team. So we'll see what happens.
And they gotta manage some stuff too. They got a lot of players in limbo. They got a couple of free agents, and that guard Payne can play, man. Payne can absolutely play. Yeah. And they might not be able to retain him. So they gotta work their roster as well and figure out, because Ayton and one of their forwards, what's the boy name? Mikal Bridges. They're up for extensions within a year. They don't want to let those two guys get to restricted free agency. You want to try to lock them up, but they're gonna. And of course, Booker's already locked up. Chris Paul's a free agent, so they got to make some decisions as well. So it'll be interesting to see how the Suns work through and figure things out on that roster.
I heard Chris Paul's about to get paid if he come back for another year.
Well, he's going to get paid either way. Chris Paul has his contract next year, I believe, is $43 million or something in that ballpark. Million. Yeah, but he's going to opt out. No ifs, ands, and buts about it.
The Lakers, are they?
No. He's going to opt out. He's going to opt out and re-sign with Phoenix, is the word I'm understanding. Because once he re-signed, they can give him either a 2-year or a 3-year deal, and he'll just make a lot more money. Which is kind of dangerous to me with a 36-year-old guy. But, he's got Phoenix over a barrel. They got to decide what they want to do. But they're going to retain him, and I'm sure he'll be back in Phoenix. Only way he'll come to the Lakers will be he's not going to come out here and take a pay cut from 40-some million. So the only way he could end up with the Lakers would be some kind of wild sign and trade. And I don't see that happening, because the Lakers would have to give up about 6 guys to match that salary, to match 43 million, man. No, him and LeBron James are tight, but there's no way I see him in it over the Lakers.
All right. Well, we'll definitely see what's up on that, because it's quiet in LA right now. So
it is.
You heard anything?
It's the quiet before the storm. Well, the NBA draft is this Thursday, and then free agency starts a week from tomorrow, or a week from today, or whatever. And you're going to see some movement. It's not a lot of great free agents, but there's enough to make some noise. We'll say it that way. More than anything, you're going to see a flurry of trades, and the trades just started a little while ago. Memphis Grizzlies trade big man Steven Adams and his 17. This was mostly a trade for New Orleans Pelicans to clear some cap space. So they dumped some salaries. So they sent Steven Adams, who's going to make $17 million a year, and Eric Bledsoe, who makes $18 million a year, and two picks, number 10 pick and number 40 pick to Memphis. Also, they gave him a number 1 pick in 2022 to take on those salaries. And then the Pelicans get back Jonas Valanciunas, who's a big man, similar to Steven Adams. He makes $14 million. And then a number 17 and number 51 picks. So that cleared cap space for New Orleans. And I hear they're going to make a run at Kyle Lowry. And they want to try to get a veteran in there to teach Zion Williamson and to play with Brandon Ingram. They're going to make a run at him. If they miss on him, they're going to make a run at some veterans. They want to get a vet or two in New Orleans.
So that means New Orleans they won on that trade, and John Morant and the Grizzlies, they came up a little short on that one.
Well, yeah, Morant, they get Steven Adams, they get a big man, but he's kind of like a building. He's a statue in there. He doesn't move around, can't shoot. but they get another big body. But Bledsoe, I understand they're not even going to keep him. Memphis ended up with those 2 good picks, though. They get a number 10 and a number 40 pick. And in this draft this Thursday, at first everybody thought, oh, the only good picks are the top 5. But now after the combine and after looking at them more carefully, experts think this is one of the deepest drafts in a long time. They think you can really get quality even in the second round. It's a lot of good players. It's not a lot of great players that's going to step in tomorrow and be like LeBron or Zion Williamson or any of those superstars, but you have a lot of good players. So Memphis just got two picks to pick up 2 more young players to add to their mix.
All right. Hey, listen, we're talking sports in the mix with the crew, Cedric Bailey, Dre Russell in the house, and of course, Kevin Simon. When we come back, we tried to tell you about Team USA. And if you ask Rudy Gobert, he like, not in my house, not in my country. We'll be right back. So keep it right here. Sports in the mix with the crew. We'll be right back. We are back. Segment 2, Sports in the Mix with the crew. We left off talking about the Bucks and, of course, the Sun. Dre, we're going to pick it up with you, man. I need an update. And Kevin, we need to hear what in the world is going on with Team USA, because we talked about it. We said on this show that you can't count out Team France, especially when they got Rudy and Nicholas on the team. You know what I mean?
What you talking about? France, to me, France is the team to beat. And France could easily win the gold because the United States team has some problems. And some of it, and what really makes me now say France probably will win the gold is the fact that the players are mad at Popovich, and that's not a good thing. The players don't like the offense. They're saying he's just running the San Antonio Spurs offense, and you could see Damian Lillard thinking on the court. They're not comfortable. And they said Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, who has coached the Olympic team the last couple of times, he would kind of just let them go for it. Not so much street ball, but he'd have such a structure. Popovich is trying to structure them, guys, and they haven't had time to really practice together. Now, this is what the guys are saying. This is what a couple of the players, and I'm not sure who exactly saying it, but I think it's some of the main guys. When I say main guys, Damian Lillard, Kevin Durant, some of them, it's some grumbling going on. Jason Tatum's hadn't fit in yet at all. And, of course, Draymond Green is kind of a leader on the team. So I don't know who's saying it, but they're saying they don't like what Popovich has got going on. Now, France, man, Rudy Gobert, defensive player of the year in the NBA the last couple of years. And he's so big. They got Nicholas Batum, who's such a good role player, Evan Fournier, who shot the lights out against the USA. All those guys are NBA players. I mean, they're starters in the NBA. And they got a couple other guys that play in the NBA or have played in the league. And then they have a lot of guys that have played overseas. The biggest problem with the U.S. Olympic team, in my opinion, when they first named the team, guys, and like you said, Cedric, we said this, they're too doggone small, man. Your biggest guys, when your biggest guys is Bam Adebayo and Draymond Green playing center, you got a problem. And they had Kevin Love who quit, who wasn't ready to play. You add JaVale McGee, and they barely used him against those big boys from France. They needed to use him more. So the USA team is too small. They at first had a commitment from Brook Lopez, and they changed their mind on him. He's a big guy. You left Miles Turner from Indiana here, and a lot of other big guys they could have taken, and they didn't. So I think the team is too small. I think they live by the jump shot and they die by the jump shot, because that's what's happening. You saw how poorly they shot against France. They play on the perimeter on offense, fishing for three-point shots, just like they do in the NBA. That doesn't translate, man, in this international ball. It's like those teams I just kept watching the game over and over, just pausing and watching. The NBA, well, not the NBA, I'm sorry. The U.S. Olympic team has nobody in the paint. Everybody is spread around the three-point line, hoping they get a shot. And the other team, they play like the USA used to play. They put guys inside on the low post. And France is big, man. They beat up the U.S. team. They got some big boys. They got about 3 guys over 7 foot tall on that team. And the U.S. team has no low post game. Not one player on that team will post up. Not one of the 12 is a post up player, because Durant faces the basket all day. And, all he wants to do is shoot threes. That pick and roll perimeter game exclusively does not work in the Olympics, man. They'll be lucky to get a bronze medal, in my opinion. Other countries got big men that play inside the way we used to play in the USA. The USA team is not built for international basketball anymore. I think they're too small, don't play in the paint. And Grant Hill is going to take over USA basketball from Jerry Colangelo after these Olympics. And I'm glad. I think it's a little stale now. It needs a little freshening up. And hopefully Grant Hill will come with a different style or way they choose the players or whatever. And I'm throwing this out there, man. let Mark Jackson, since you blackballed him out of the NBA, let Mark Jackson be the Olympic coach, and let that be something he concentrates on all the time. And maybe they'll have a better system, because when you're using these NBA coaches, they don't have any time to put into it till their season's over. Then they spend 2 weeks trying to get ready. But give it to Mark Jackson. I'm just throwing it out there.
In addition to what Dre said, it was just a matter of time before the rest of the world caught up to the USA. As you look at the other teams, they all got NBA players. Nigeria's got about 8 of them, not big names, but they got about 8. Australia's got about 6 of them. All right, France has got some NBA players. So it's just a matter of time before the rest of the world catches up. Now, Damian Lillard also said that those cats that are playing for their countries, they play different, meaning they play better. They play harder when they play for their countries.
They sure do.
Facing different guys. So it's a whole new ball game, and USA is going to have to. I'll put it this way, though. I'm a lot more interested in this USA basketball now that it is competitive than I was back in the day when it was just blowout. So I'm actually watching it now. So I'm more interested in it now. So USA is going to have to step up their game, and I'm glad about that. They need to step up their game.
Well, and I'm just thinking about this situation. We got Zach LaVine. He's not even a top 25. I don't even think he's a top 50 player.
Well, yeah, he did make the All-Star team this year. He made the All-Star team.
But what did he do?
You mean what has he done in the Olympics, in the games?
Did he make it to Tokyo? Because he was the one of those COVID cats. Yeah.
Zach played. Okay. He's starter. He's a starter. Their starting lineup is, and once again, they're too small. But their starting lineup is Draymond Green and Bam Adebayo. That's your big men. Those guys are 6'9" and 6'7". Man, that's small compared to these European teams. Right. And then Durant's tall, but he doesn't play tough and doesn't play big. That's their front line: Durant, Adebayo, and Draymond Green. And then the backcourt is Zach LaVine and Damian Lillard. And then off the bench, Jason Tatum, who's playing terrible so far. I don't know what's up with him. He doesn't look good at all. He looks nothing like the guy that we saw with the Celtics this year. And then the other second stringer, they just got there. The guys who finished playing in the finals, Devin Booker from Phoenix, Drew Holiday, and Chris Middleton, both from Milwaukee. Those guys probably still had champagne pouring out of their pores. They got there and played a little bit yesterday. And believe it or not, the leading scorer for the USA was Drew Holiday, who just got off a plane about 12 hours before the game. So that shows you the USA, they're disjointed, man. They don't look that great. The only other player that I didn't mention was Jeremy Grant from Detroit. I don't think he even got in the game yesterday, and JaVale McGee. And then Popovich has got one of his young boys playing, Keldon Johnson, who nobody ever heard of. So Pop used that, I'm sure he used his authority to put one of his young guys from the Spurs on the team to try to get him developed. But, man, look how many great players we have here in the U.S. from the NBA that are not over there playing on this team.
That's not the best USA team. Yeah, absolutely.
No doubt.
No dream team.
Nope. Grant Hill, take over. Come on, Grant Hill. We need you, because Colangelo, the way he puts it together, they just sent out invitations to the 12 guys they wanted. And then 2 of them had to drop off. Kevin Love was a joke. He never should have been one to get an invite. He hadn't really played in meaningful games in 3 or 4 years. And then the other one was Bradley Beal, who came down with COVID and had to drop off. So that team is not a great team, man. They could easily not make it. France is the best, in my opinion, but also Spain's pretty good, and a couple of others, like Kevin Simon said.
Well, Argentina is the one that played against Slovenia, and they said Luka was hitting threes like it was
man
crazy. Threes like it was against the Clippers, yeah.
In 1 minute, boom, 3.
They got blown out. They blew them out. Luka had 48 points, Kevin?
48. Yeah, 48.
He was killing them. Yeah, he looked great.
He had 31 in the first half, so.
Yeah. And they got a big team. He's got some big boys on his team. I'm telling you, man, USA might not even medal. That's how more than how bad the USA looks, that's how good these other teams have gotten and have exactly.
Rest of the world.
Exactly.
Wow, it's amazing on that situation. So we'll see what's up. They're back in action on Wednesday. And who do we got next? Iran?
They play Iran Wednesday night. And U.S. time, it's Wednesday night. And then they play Saturday, Czech Republic. And then after that, the more or less the playoff start, or the medal round start. Now, the U.S. can still win a gold medal, but they have to win the rest of their games.
Well, they need to use these games as practice games, and Pops need to get out there and get that thing together and then retire after it's over with.
Exactly. Exactly, man. Exactly. You know what? Here's something else. Not really dumping on Popovich, but he has the worst record of any coach to ever coach the U.S. Olympic team. I think his record is something like Well, out of all the losses that the U.S. has ever had, I think he was coaching what, 5 of them or something like that. I found out today.
Yeah, I think that's about
Yeah,
right.
he doesn't have a good record coaching U.S. because he's such a structured coach, and that's like trying to make an all-star team structured. You have 2 days before the all-star game, the guys get together, they just go out and do their thing because the guys are talented. And I think some of the players are grumbling, so maybe he has a little too structured for him. I don't know.
Well, we'll definitely see on that situation. Rick Rubio is playing for his country, Spain, by the way. And according to the report, they're mad. Team Spain is mad in Tokyo because after his sides were made almost to wait a half an hour before being allowed back in the dressing room. That's happened on Monday. So it was something, they making some changes over there, boy. I think they're doing what they want to over there. If they don't like you in Tokyo, they're going to do what they want to frustrate you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that game is so much different. And these U.S. guys have a hard time adjusting. They play a lot more physical. They play like the NBA used to play. Kevin Simon, come on, baby. Right. And they play physical in the NBA. If you look at a guy hard now, the refs call a foul. So, they do a lot of things. They do stuff like the NBA used to do. Now the U.S. doesn't do it. And then they can slap the ball off the rim. And that's a live ball. It's not goaltending. So there's so many things. And then the 3-point line is closer. It's almost like that's freaked out Damian Lillard and Durant. Those guys usually hit them from way out, and now they're missing like crazy. And same thing with Jason Tatum. They're missing like crazy. So they have 2 days off. We'll see if they can get it together and be ready and look a lot. They'll beat Iran, but let's see how they beat them. Will they beat them 100-50 or will they beat them, 70-60 or something? We'll see how they look.
All right. Well, we'll see if they can get a heart check on the situation. All right. We're getting ready to talk football, but before we do, we got to talk about the NBA draft. We talked a little bit about it just a few minutes ago. Cade Cunningham, is he still the top on the radar?
Well, Detroit's doing, probably want to keep the interest up and make people tune into the draft because they're saying today they haven't decided between him, Jalen Green, or Evan Mobley. But I think that's just a ploy, maybe even try to drum up some interest. I think Cade Cunningham is definitely the player for Detroit. The 6'8" guy, he could play point guard. He draws comparisons to 2 players we just mentioned playing in the Olympics, Luka Doncic and Jason Tatum. A lot of people compare him to those guys. He can kind of play anywhere from the 1, the 2, or the 3. And he kind of reminds you of Ben Simmons, but he can shoot. Ben Simmons that can shoot. So I think there's no doubt about it. He's going to Detroit at 1, and then at 2, Houston will decide between this kid with all this athletic ability that reminds me of Tracy McGrady. He can jump out of the gym. Jalen Green, this kid that just came out of high school a year ago and played on that team that gets kids ready for the draft. He didn't go to college. So Jalen Green's a very athletic, like 6'7" kid. So they can decide between him. I think it's going to be him or the skinny kid coming out of USC, Evan Mobley, who's 6'11" and kind of reminds you of Chris Bosh or LaMarcus Aldridge. But I think Mobley is going to be a bust. I don't see him being a great player. I really don't. And then the next player that's getting a lot of talk is Jalen Suggs, the point guard who we all saw a lot out of Gonzaga. He's a really good player. He'll definitely be a top 5 pick.
Yeah, I like him.
And then after that, those are the top 4 names that get most of the pub. And the next 2, 5 and 6, pretty much are Jonathan Kuminga, another kid that played on the Ignite team, didn't go to college. He's like a beast. A lot of people compare him to Kawhi Leonard. This kid can play. He's only 18 years old, and he's a young stud. But none of these guys are going to make a difference on a team in the next year or 2. They're guys we might be talking about in 3 years that are really great players, but they all got to grow. They're so young, most of them. And then the other name I want to mention is Scotty Barnes out of Florida State. Versatile kid, 6'9". I've been watching a lot of film on a lot of these kids over the last week. And one more I mentioned, 2 more. Keon Johnson out of Tennessee, who some people say could be the next Latrell Sprewell, and Moses Moody out of Arkansas. Some people compare him to Mikal Bridges and OJ Anunoby out of Toronto. And then don't forget those Baylor boys.
That's what I was going to ask. What about the guys from Baylor?
Well, both of them are Davion Mitchell, defense, of course. They say that's another Drew Holiday, and Jared Butler, the 3-point shooter. Those 2 kids from Baylor, the national college champs, they both are projected to go in the middle of the first round, somewhere around in there. They said Jared Butler, if he falls to the 20s, the Lakers really would like to get him in. They've had him in for tryouts. So
do
we'll
we
see.
have any international players to be on the lookout for?
I've only seen one or two, and they're not very high. They're down a little bit, and I couldn't even tell you who they are. I've only seen one or two. Most years you see a whole lot of international players, but this year, none of the top guys are international players. You might see one or two go in the first round, but it'll be on down in the 20s more than likely.
I'm glad to hear that, because you remember that year the Knicks when he picked Porzingis? Spike almost came flying up out of there.
Man, yeah. OKC has, by the way, OKC, a note on the draft, they have 6 picks in this round. There's only 2 rounds. So out of 60 players, 6 of them OKC has the rights to, man.
They better do something with that thing, because the fans getting restless there in Oklahoma City.
I got 2 others I think that are going to go higher than they should. The kid out of Gonzaga, Corey Kispert, I'm not a big fan of his. They got him slated to go in the mid round, like around 15. I don't think he's that good. And Franz Wagner out of Michigan, definitely don't think he's that good. His brother is Wagner, who the Lakers drafted #1 a few years ago, and now he's in Washington, who was overrated. And I think his brother, Franz Wagner, is just like him, man. I just don't think they're that great. And they got both of those projected to go in the teens. So we'll see.
All right, Kevin, anything you want to say before we move on to the next topic?
No, man, I think Dre wrapped up the NBA draft pretty much. Again, a lot of these cats, I'm not familiar with it. And so I think Dre put a nice bow on the draft coming up.
All right. So here we go. Big 12. Kevin.
Where your hat? Where your hat go, man? Where your hat?
Yeah, it might be
trying to get SEC, man, because I'm telling you, man.
But yeah,
this is about money. It's all about money.
But the college, the college programs, the NCAA wants to make you to believe that the college sports is not about the money, right? But Texas and OU is chasing the money. All right, that's the only reason they're trying to get out of the Big 12 is about that money. Now, there was about 10 years ago, we all thought it was the end of the Big 12 when Colorado left. I think Nebraska left first, then Colorado, and then Texas A&M left because they got mad at Texas got that TV show, got that their own network,
Longhorn Network.
So A&M got mad. They left and went to the SEC. Then they added TCU in West Virginia, and then Missouri left. And so everybody at the time was saying this is the end of the Big 12. So now they're saying it again. The Big 12 this is the demise of the Big 12 because who's out next? Kansas is talking about leaving. Iowa State is talking about leaving, going to the Big 10. And so we'll see what happens to the Big 12, but it doesn't look very good right now for the Big 12. In my estimation, they can go back to the old Southwest Conference days. You know what I'm talking about, Cedric. Just bring SMU back and Rice back, add the University of Houston, and then go from there. If Oklahoma State wants to stay, if Kansas State wants to stay, fine. I think West Virginia needs to get out anyway because they were never a good fit for the Big 12. If you notice at Big 12 media days, nobody's trying to interview the West Virginia people. They're too far away, and so they can get West Virginia out and try to build remake that Southwest Conference without, of course, the 2 biggest schools, the University of Texas and Texas A&M.
Well, I tell you what, it hurt. What hurts me about the whole deal is Oklahoma. Your sister school is Oklahoma State.
Yeah,
but they're
not happy.
You go with
Oklahoma State's not happy. Yeah,
you go with your rival and partner and lead with him. But your other rival, you say, "Oh no, we ain't. Y'all not on our level." You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Oklahoma State's upset about it. The fact that they didn't even talk to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma didn't even consult with them. They just took off. Looks like they're taking off with the University of Texas. Texas A&M is upset because they weren't talked to. They were told that they would be the only Texas school in the SEC. That won't be the case if Texas joins. And so we got a lot of upset schools, and Texas and OU right now are saying they're going to honor the contract through 2025. I don't think they will. We'll see what happens. They can pay out 76 to 80 million to get out of the contracts. And so that's more likely than them staying around till 2025. But this is about to get ugly, And again, I'm surprised because again, we just did Big 12 Media Days a week ago, and now they're a week later. They're talking about getting out of the conference. Apparently these talks have been going on for 6 months, but they kept it fairly secret.
I'm going to say this. I was wondering why the commissioner done lost half his hair when we saw him. I know.
Was that and COVID is working on him? He said he's so tired of talking about COVID, but yeah, man, and he's called a meeting. They had a meeting. We're supposed to meet today with Texas and OU, but Texas and OU has already made the decision. It's just a matter of getting the votes to get in to the SEC, which I don't think is going to be a problem. I think A&M is probably going to be the only team that votes against them. So it's just a matter of them getting into that, and they can pay the way out if they want to.
Well, hold that thought. We'll be right back. We got to talk football. We got to break it all down. You're listening to Sports in the Mix with the Crew. I'm Cedric Bailey along with Kevin Simon and Andre Russell. We'll be right back with more, so keep it right here. And welcome back. We are hanging out, the Crew, Cedric Bailey, Kevin Simon, and Andre Russell in the house. Fellas, before we talk a little bit more football, we got to talk about these Olympics. Man, they got some new sports. Dre, what do you see? What do you like the most? Followed by Kevin.
Well, I saw a sport and I didn't know what it was, man. It took me a while to figure out, like, what are they doing? They're playing it on it looks like, well, they were on a basketball court,
right,
and you see the 3-point line and they're throwing the ball around. Occasionally they bounce the ball and then they throw it through the net where it looks like a soccer net with a goalie, but it's called handball. I had never seen that before. I thought handball was like racquetball. That's how I remember handball, I thought. But they got some sports in the Olympics, boy. They come with some stuff, all that skateboarding and break dancing is coming. I mean, they got some sports now that you like, what is going on? Taekwondo. I mean, judo, they got some stuff, fencing, archery. I see the Olympics got some sports, brother. They got some sports.
They got a sister who is playing water polo, and she's the goalie.
She's the goalie, and they beat China.
You got to tread water the whole time.
Yeah, that's a tough sport, man, because you can't touch the ground in the pool. You got to float and swim the whole time. And they do have a goalie for USA, an African-American girl, and she's doing a great job. Again, they beat China handily today to move on to the next round. But Dre mentioned skateboarding, and that's one of those sports I didn't think I was going to be interested in. Man, I was locked in, especially the girls. The young girls, those two young girls from Japan, I think it's Momoji and Leal from Brazil. Those two 13-year-old girls finished first and second on street skate. Yeah, 13-year-old. They're both 13, and they finished first and second, the gold and the silver in street skateboarding. And I was locked in on this stuff. So I watched it from beginning to end, but there's a lot of sports, as Dre mentioned, man. I've been watching a little bit of everything, as you mentioned, water polo, taekwondo, boxing, of course, is an old one, but it's back. I mean, it's still there. Girls softball, which had taken 13 years off, they brought it back. And so I've been watching that. 3-on-3 women's basketball. I watched that today. So there's a whole lot going on.
And I wasn't talking about that, man. 3-on-3 basketball.
Yeah, it
was another new one.
I got locked in. Yeah, I got excited about that. And I was watching the girls today. USA won again today, beat China in that as well. But yeah, that was actually pretty fun to me too.
Yeah, man. They got some sports, and it's too bad our girl Simone Biles. Well, I mean, she still got a chance to win 6 goals, but she struggled over the weekend. Yeah. But luckily, she's got a chance to look better. It seems like every time on her dismounts or at the end, she stumbled a little bit and she was real displeased when she talked about it. But I'm so glad that wasn't it for her. Now she advances to the next round, and now she'll get a chance to be pristine and hopefully win 6 goals.
There's a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure on Biles, absolutely, between these Olympics and all leading up to the Olympics. You knew she was going to struggle a little bit because, and then Ledecky, the swimmer for USA, she was expected to win gold. She took a second place. So a lot of things are going on in the world. Again, the rest of the world is kind of catching up to the USA.
Yeah, and the weightlifting, man. Ooh, I've been taking that weightlifting. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a whole lot. There's so many sports to keep up with, man. They mountain bike, and I'm like, come on, man. They're doing everything in there.
I can't wait for this weekend or a few days from now the track and field gets started.
That's what I'm most
Can't wait for the sprints, buddy.
I just Allison Felix.
Yeah. Allison got a chance to do some more damage, and Allison's doing a great job. She's paying for babysitters over there for all of the other women on her team that have.
She's doing that good.
Yeah,
I've
she's
seen her in commercials.
Yep. She's sponsoring the babysitters to have that baby care while they were running in the Olympics, man.
Yeah.
Wow, the game has definitely changed, and the interesting thing, they're doing this without fans in the stands.
Yeah. Again. Well,
and this will be the first Olympics in a long time, guys, without Usain Bolt.
Yeah,
that's
right.
They got his commercials running, don't they?
Oh yeah, he's making money, but he's ran it every year. Remember, he won every year starting, I believe, in 2008, all the way up to the last one. Yeah, it'd be the first time without Bolt.
Yeah, well, I'm enjoying it. Of course, it's kind of different with the time change and everything. So I've been watching it, so I'm gonna pick it up a little bit and watch a lot more.
It's so many different networks that's carrying it, man. Today I went through and scheduled everything. You got NBC, you got NBCSN, you got NBC, USA Network, and NBC Olympic Channel.
Yeah, they got about 4 or 5 channels, right?
Yep, all 5 of them.
Hey, before we talk football, anything on baseball, man, before we forget, because I heard the Yankees are trying to make some moves, man, to get Trevor Story from Colorado.
Yeah, they need them shortstop. They need a lot of moves. The Yankees been stumbling, and they still trying to hang in there, man, but they need to do a lot of trades. They picked up a relief pitcher from the Pittsburgh Pirates a couple of hours ago because their bullpen has lost so many games for them down, over the last month. They started out good, so we'll see. It's going to be some moves. San Diego Padres picked up all-star second baseman Adam Frazier from the Pittsburgh Pirates. So the Pirates are definitely sellers. Everybody, they shopping over there like they Target, man. The Pirates are giving players away. So you definitely got the contenders trying to improve, like the Milwaukee Brewers. I don't know if the Dodgers are going to be in that mix or not. The Padres trying to get Max Scherzer, man, from Washington, because Washington has said he's available. And so you got a lot of good teams. Yeah, you got a lot of good teams trying to make moves.
Yeah. All right, here we go, man. I'm gonna do this sound effect. Who is it?
Who's there?
It's me. It's DeAndre.
DeAndre who?
DeAndre who? DeAndre Watson. You know me, baby.
You mean Deshaun?
Deshaun Watson. Yeah.
You?
Yeah, Deshaun.
Don't be giving me no alias name, man. Come on in here with your guilty self. Come on, now you done reported the camp. You don't want to be paying that $50,000 a day. I know.
He don't want to give it up.
Y'all not gonna trade me, right, Deshaun?
Well, they want to trade you, but
yeah, they open the trade now.
Deshaun.
I wouldn't touch Deshaun with a 10-foot pole, man. Now in this time of the Me Too movement, it's not a good time to pick him up. Yeah, and now he's got 10 more. He's got 10 police allegations now, or police complaints now. So along with the 22 civil cases, he's got 10 police complaints now. So I wouldn't touch Deshaun Watson with a 10-foot pole. Not right now. It's not a good time to do it.
I guarantee you, if he hadn't had these cases and he was still just demanding a trade, and he would not be going to camp, because he just said, well, the $50,000 a day, whatever. Now he can't afford to miss that kind of money, man. He's got
to pay.
He's got some debt.
He got some debt. He's going to come out of that pocket.
Yeah, so that's why he showed up, and that's why he showed up for camp.
He's got two teams looking at him. One is the Philadelphia Eagles and the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, he's got more than that, I heard. But
but nobody's making a serious offer, at least as far as Houston is concerned. I think they're going to dabble around it, but come on, man. Again, now is not the time for Deshaun Watson. He's going to miss some time anyway. So
I just want to say one thing, Kevin. Deshaun, if you're listening, hold out to the end of the year and let this team cut to get you, because Roethlisberger is going to be dead and gone. We're going to need a quarterback next year.
Oh, you're going to need a quarterback. Yeah, that's
we
for
can
sure.
sure use you next year, Deshaun. So hold out, brother. Hold out to the end of the season.
Yeah, they're going to
because you're right, man. They said 2 women with new allegations.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Well, those 2 new women are the police complaints. They're not a part of the civil complaints. There's still 22 for civil, but now there's 10 on the police complaints. So this is getting worse.
Deshaun caught more cases than R. Kelly, man. Golly,
and I don't mean to laugh, but Dre that's just true,
I mean, they keep coming out with new stuff. I'm like, man. Yep.
All right. Well, we'll definitely see what's going on. And as far as the Packers deal, that's a done deal. Aaron Rodgers is not coming back.
I don't know about that. He is coming back. I think the opposite is true. Yeah, breaking news. I think the opposite.
Wait a minute, hold on. Is he going to the Raiders?
No, he's going to stay with Green Bay.
You want the breaking news?
Yeah.
The Packers are signing him to a brand new deal. Yeah. They're working out a deal with him. And part of the deal is they're going to take away the last year of the contract. And next year they agreed to look at things at the end of the year.
That's right.
They're giving Aaron Rodgers a boatload of money, man.
As they should.
Play.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, he's the reigning MVP. And so Green Bay is going to do what they need to do. They're making some concessions. They might bring Randall Cobb back because he wants Randall Cobb back. That's one of the concessions. So I said before, they got to do everything in their power to keep that dude, because he is the reigning MVP. You don't want to let him go win a Super Bowl somewhere else, just like a la Tom Brady, and let that guy go, especially after an MVP season. So they're making some concessions, and it looks like it's moving in the direction that they're gonna sign him.
Well, I understand. Just before we went on this broadcast, I understand he'll be in camp tomorrow, fellas. Yeah. Tomorrow. Yeah, that deal is
it looks like a done deal.
Yeah,
he's back. Yeah,
he'll play for the Packers this year.
Man, I was hoping he was gonna be with the Raiders. Man, I
had my
round truck ready to go.
No. You stuck with Derek Carr. You stuck with Derek Carr, Cedric. Now you see why I jumped off that train.
Drive that car. Drive that car.
No. Your quarterback about bad as mine. Carr and Roethlisberger about the same, man. I tell you.
Well, at least your team, they haven't had a losing season. They haven't had one since 2003. Is that right?
Yeah, we have. Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season since he's been there. Yeah. The Steelers are kind of doing what I'm glad they're doing. They're rebuilding, but they're doing it on the fly. They're kind of retooling. They're retooling. They got a whole new offensive line, and they're a young team, but they're still trying not to be a bad team. They ain't trying to go all the way down to the bottom, winning 2 games a year. And they might not make the playoffs this year, but still they're retooling the right way. I think they can just get a quarterback after this year. They'll be really straight. Well,
all I can say is now Aaron Rodgers, he pulled it off because I'm looking at the report that he is going to be back. And it would have been horrible for the Packers, man.
Yes. This is timing is everything. You cannot let that dude go after an MVP season.
Right.
The Packers would never live it down. They had to do everything in their power to keep that dude at least for this season. And they apparently are doing that. Again, he wants Randall Cobb back, who is right now with the Houston. And so he wants part of the concessions is he wants that guy back. So they're going to do everything in their power to keep that guy.
Did y'all see Brady go to the White House and speak with his team?
Yeah.
Now that's a smart guy right there. You know, before it was with Robert Kraft and all them up there, but no, he said, no, I got these brothers. They protected me.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a smart man right there.
Well, he made the right move. Yeah, he made the right move on this one. He didn't go when Obama was in office. He didn't go when Trump was in office because that was a bad look, but he did go this time around.
Yeah, so it's going to be exciting, man. I can't wait. Anything on the Dallas Cowboys, Kevin? Because I've been hearing some noise down there about them. What are they?
Hey, man, they're hyped about right now, man. Everybody says the Cowboys are looking good in camp, but everybody says that when they first get to camp, everybody looks good. Ezekiel Elliott is supposed to be lost some weight and he's ready to go and all the sorts of stuff. But we'll see what happens, man. Everybody looks good in camp when you first get there. Yeah, everybody's excited until the season starts.
Yeah,
and everybody will get an early look at them because they played a Hall of Fame game against the Steelers a week from Thursday on August 5th. So those two teams will get to play the first game. They both were the first two to report to camp, and they play in the game. So we'll get to peek at them in a few days.
And apparently Dak is going to play in that game because he's got to work out some of that rust. So they're going to have him start that game. And I think the Cowboys, listen, they play in the worst division in football. Okay. Right. And so I think they'll be okay in that division.
I do too. Right. Yeah.
We're down to our final 3 minutes. Of course, Kevin, you're up. What's on your closing comments?
Well, we just about covered everything, but again, the Olympics are a little bit more exciting than I thought they would be, but we still have to be aware of what's going on in the world with COVID. The numbers are going in the opposite direction. I think California, Drake, is putting those mask mandates back in place. St. Louis, Missouri is putting their mask mandates back in place. I got smashed on Twitter. As a couple of weeks ago, I said, listen, there's a chance we'll go back in the opposite direction. And everybody jumped on my back. And so here we are. So I went back on Twitter and said, talk to me now. We still have to take care of business, man. We are not out of the woods yet. In fact, we're going in the opposite direction with this new variant. We have to take care of our business. People are still getting infected at a high level, and especially the unvaccinated. So get vaccinated and try to get past this thing finally.
No doubt about it.
The NFL says if we lose some games because y'all don't go up, we're gonna cut y'all's pay.
That's right. The NFL is coming down hard. I mean, you might not want to get vaccinated, but they're gonna make it very difficult on you and your team if you don't.
Yeah, because you costing them money because of games and everything.
Yes, you are.
Contracts and everything.
Absolutely.
By the way, before I forget, I want to say kudos to Colin Kaepernick. He's got a children's book he's written out. Everything he's done with the deal. So that brother, he might not be playing the game, but he's making money. I guarantee you that. So
no doubt.
All right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The NBA draft this Thursday. Don't forget it, folks. July 29th. The NBA free agency starts in a week on Monday, August 2nd. And then also this Friday, July 30th, NBA, Major League Baseball, MLB trade deadline. So that should be exciting. And one last thing, fellas, I didn't even know we had one. We got a rugby team in LA. The Newbie Guillotines played yesterday at the Coliseum and won in the playoffs, Major League Rugby playoffs. I didn't even know we had a team out here. I called all my friends in sports. They were like, we do? They have a rugby team in LA called the Guillotines, which is named after a martini drink. So they're the Guillotines instead of the martinis. and they play. And I was
You know-
like, that's unbelievable, man.
You know what it
Unbelievable.
is? That's somebody with a whole bunch of money and just trying to make something they ain't got nothing else to do with it. Just put their money. Let's
Right.
go rugby team.
They charged $10 to
rugby
get
team.
into the game at the Coliseum, $10, and it was
Really?
probably 100 people there. There was probably 100 people in that Coliseum. And the game was televised, brothers. On
What?
Fox. Yes,
Come
it
on,
was
man.
televised out here. I recorded the game and watched it. I'd never watched a rugby game in my life. And now the championship game is going to be out here next week. The newbie Guiltinis of LA. LA newbie Guiltinis.
That name just tickles my fancy. But go
The
ahead.
Guiltinis are playing for the championship of some I didn't even know exists, Kevin
Yeah,
Simon. I didn't even
yeah.
know it exists, Cedric Bailey. I didn't know we even had a team out here.
All right, well, we about to back this truck and get up on out of here. I want to say thank you, fellas, and we'll look forward to talking to you again. I'm Cedric Bailey. I'm with Kevin Simon and the one and only Dre Russell, and we are just days away from the upcoming NFL football season, and I can't wait. You've been
Almost here.
listening to Sports in the Mix with the Crew. Until next time, peace.
Go Dream Team.
Dream Team. Man, that was fun. That seemed like it'd been 2 weeks since we did the show, but we did one last week, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah, we
Been so
did.
much